Hello, one and all. Welcome back to the Trades and Transactions for GBA Season 8. I am one of your hosts, Ospastic One, and of course, I am not alone.
I am your other host, Aaron2420.
And we've got quite a few trades this week, going into Week 7. This is going to be one of the last weeks for Trades and Transactions, so this is crunch time, do or die for the coaches.
Yep.
So we'll jump right into this. To start off with, John, aka Pokemon, coach of the New Orleans Pelipers, has decided to drop Houndoom in exchange for Silvally. Last week we saw Wolfie drop Silvally in exchange for Entei, and John decided to pick up Silvally for his own reasons. Mainly, Houndoom wasn't doing a lot for him. He brought it to one game and it died. So ultimately, it didn't do as much for his team as he initially wanted. But he is going to get something else out of this trade. This feeds directly into our next trade and transaction, where Lord Envy and Pokemon will trade Incineroar for Silvally. Now this is going to be a great trade for both coaches. Envy feels that Incineroar won't do much for his future matchups for the rest of the season. Silvally gives him plenty of momentum that Incineroar still gave him in addition to Parting Shot. It allows him to support his team with any type of his choosing, which is Silvally's greatest strength. Outside of Arceus, it's the only Pokemon that can be any type if you want to disclude Ditto being able to transform. But hey, also John will get some momentum. Houndoom didn't give him momentum, so he loses out on some special attack, but Incineroar gives him a good solid physical attacker, as well as retaining the dark and fire type that he would otherwise be losing. He does gain some momentum with U-turn and some good moves with Leech Life, Flare Blitz, Darkest Lariat. So ultimately a great move for both coaches, and especially, Envy picking up Silvally. This is going to be fantastic. Silvally is a great mon. Fight me.
So, I will fight you on that, because I think that John actually gains a lot more from this trade than Envy does personally. I feel like that Houndoom, I agree with you 100% on the first part of this trade, that Houndoom really wasn't doing much. So the fact that John gets Incineroar anyway, regardless, just by trading with Envy, instead of having to maybe pick it up from the free agent pool this week, I think that's going to help him out a lot personally. I feel like, as you said, the momentum thing is really nice. I feel like John's team doesn't necessarily need the special offense that he'd be missing with Houndoom. And even then, if your team is really that hurt by losing Houndoom with special offense, there's some other issues you need to make besides dropping Houndoom. So I feel like that's not overall going to hurt him too much. I really like Incineroar more for John's team personally. As you said, momentum. It has a much better coverage move pool. Really, all he's missing out by dropping Houndoom is just by missing out on Destiny Bond and other utility like that. Though Incineroar still is very, very bulky mon, unlike Houndoom, has much better physically offensive move pool, and I guess its special move pool is even not that bad as well if you wanted to run it special for 1 week, and it doesn't have the worst special attack for a tier 4 mon by any means. And whereas Envy, though, I feel like while Envy's team definitely wouldn't necessarily hurt from Silvally, it would be very hard to make a team hurt from a transaction like Silvally, despite my opinions on it. I feel like that it definitely isn't necessarily the best mon Envy could have picked up, especially because if you look at Envy's team, a lot of the types that Silvally is going to run aren't necessarily defensive typings, in my opinion. And I feel like that he doesn't really need a steel type or a water type or a ground type necessarily. He has solid mons in those aspects. And I feel like, though, that it's just going to be really hard to fit Silvally on a build for Envy to the point where it'll be beneficial to Silvally and the rest of his team as well, where there maybe wouldn't be a mon that could do its job better that Envy doesn't already have on his team. So overall, I think that I like this trade a lot more for John, but it's definitely not a bad trade either for Envy as well. And I can't wait to see what he does with it. And speaking of
Envy promises to do some good stuff with it, I guarantee it.
Oh yeah, Envy has promised to make this mon work like no other coach has before, so we will see how he does. Next up from the Envy clan, we have Chimpact, coach of the Philadelphia Scissors, and he is dropping Guzzlord for Drifblim. Now, Chimpact mentions he really did not like Guzzlord. He wanted it to work really badly. He said overall, though, he just felt like it was trying to be a Pseudo Pivot to take hits and retaliate with strong moves, but it can't 2-hit KO most things that he's needed to, even with max offenses. And especially a lot of bulky waters need to get hit by Draco, but even then after the drop, it's not necessarily doing that much. And it's just way too slow. The fairy weakness is horrible. Its typing really wasn't great to take hits with anyway. And he feels like Drifblim is his I can't say that word. Goading tons. He says it's Stealth Rock weak, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. He says he likes some burn with it, Baton Pass. He says that because of the flare boost ability, he has a Scald switching that's nice on his team, especially in terms of having a monster such as Micro Camera Up that he never brings, that is 4 times weak to water. I like Drifblim personally. It gives a lot of utility to Chimpac's team as Tailwind, so that's another element to Chimpac's team for mons such as Nihilego that maybe would want to get some speed boost up. Also, for things such as Tapu Bulu, a Tailwind could actually be very nice in certain matchups where he would maybe not be able to set up a Trick Room, or maybe out-slowing something isn't the play. Same as Victini. Again, all these mons that are really scary with a Trick Room up, well, they could be somewhat scary with a Trick Room up. They'll be a lot scarier with a Tailwind up. Drifblim can offer that. Destiny Bond is always nice. I believe Drifblim also gets Taunt as well. So all very nice aspects in general. I feel like that there's just a lot that Drifblim has to offer. Even for a mon that's definitely not great by any means, Drifblim is not some messiah, but I think it definitely has a lot to offer to Chimpac's team.
It does indeed. It can even run some fun weather sets, considering it gets Weather Ball. Ooh. I want to see Chimpact run Weather Ball Drifblim at least once. That would be great. But, I mean, he does get Sunny Day, he does get Rain Dance. Outside of that, it doesn't... Yeah, it's not going to do a whole lot for him, but hey, we could see some skill swap tech sets. We could see some paint split shenanigans. We could see some magic coat to prevent those hazards from being set up. I mean, he has some halfway decent... Does he? He doesn't. He has no hazard control.
Does he really not? How did we just notice this? Yeah, he actually does not have any hazard removers besides this.
So,
oh my
this
God.
is here's his defogger.
Here's a defogger.
Hey!
Hey!
Because, yeah, he dropped Cloister. That was his hazards. That was his hazard control. Holy shit. Alright, so we'll chop this up.
He did have a Cloister.
Oh my God, he now has a defogger.
He now has a remover.
He has a defogger and a magic coater, so hey, Drifblim's gonna put in some work.
I didn't even realize that it was a thing, that he didn't have any removal.
Dun, dun, dun. It was mentioned in the comments, and oh wow, thank you fans for reminding us. This is why we need you.
Yeah, this is why we need you guys to guide us. I don't know how we didn't notice this.
It's hard
didn't even cover this. He didn't even cover this when he was giving me a ton of... He gave me a ton of reasons why he dropped Guzzlord. Drifblim helping a defog was not one of them. So...
Well, I guess he's not that worried about hazards. I mean, he does have a very solid record going for him, so... who knows?
Yeah, but... I feel like it's just because no one tried to spike stack versus him. Like, that would do a lot versus his team. Especially when most of his mons don't have recovery. Like, his mon that has recovery outside of berries is... Leech Seed, Ferrothorn, and Tapu Bulu, and that's it. Why is just leftovers?
Yeah.
Yeah, holy how has no one tried to spike stack on Chimp? Or at least hazard stack, I guess.
I don't know. Oh well. Next up, we have Necrostevo, coach of the Victorian Shadows, dropping a Lowland Executor in exchange for Stoutland. Now, we did see Stoutland get dropped a few weeks ago. Actually,
right at the beginning of the season.
Very beginning. MV dropped Stoutland in exchange for a Lowland Raichu. It just wasn't doing anything for him. But now, Necro's picking him up, stating a frustration with Alolan Eggy failing to kill things. And he's only been able to use it once with its Trick Room shenanigans. Stoutland, on the other hand, will force his opponents to prep for more offensive options, and it allows him to free up his Z budget, which he will transfer the Z points from Alolan Eggy to Metagross that he picked up last week from a trade with Aster. So Metagross definitely going to do even more work for him this season. It's definitely going to do more than Alolan Eggy.
Oh, for sure. I feel like that Stoutland definitely helps his team a lot in terms of yet another option for being really fast. As he has, for example, Unburned Hawlucha, Mega Zam's really fast mon, he has Webs, Stoutland, especially with webs, is going to pressure a lot of Mons, and especially with the sand. Bandit Stoutland, really amazing set. It has a phenomenal physical move pool, especially since it is a normal type. They all do. Get over it. This mod, honestly, though, for its tier, I think it's a phenomenal mod, personally. But yeah, for its tier, though, I think it's actually a very good pick, in my opinion. I think Stoutland is a phenomenal mod, especially dropping low an Executor for it only helps with the Necrostevo squad. I mean, especially when you clearly have not been having the best season, you gotta try something new, and I think that Stoutland was definitely the way to go this time. The Z points on Metagross are only going to help even more, because Z points on Metagross help it with its phenomenal move pool. I feel like for a middle tier Zmon, and especially with Lycanroc as well pairing with that, I feel like there really wasn't much else that Necrostevo could have done in terms of a good Z user for his team, because it's not like he's going to Z Hawlucha, and I believe that would have been the only other Mon that would have been an upper tier that he could have Z'd, if I'm not mistaken. That and Togekiss, but I feel like Metagross is definitely a much better Zmon. So, overall, though, I think that this was definitely a very, very nice option for Necrostevo, and I hope that he uses it with a lot of really nice tricks this season in terms of what he maybe runs on Metagross. As I said, I think that this can only help his team.
Yeah, and it's with that Intimidate and that Scrappy, so he can run a slightly more defensive tack, and Ghost types won't be nearly as much of a problem. Or if he ever runs into another Sand user, bam, Sand Rush, let's go.
Exactly. And now, finally, this isn't a trade or a drop necessarily, but it's still considered a transaction. Wolfie is actually using his Z points that he gained last week that we mentioned he was holding on to, and he's going to give them to Bronzong. He mentions how he really didn't have anything that he was going to end up getting his Z points to, and he figured he would save it just in case. He also figures that this helps Aaron Z Zong in his mashups with options such as Z Hypnosis maybe. I figured, you know, as a VGC player, that was sort of the first question I asked him when he was Zing Bronzong. Is that what you had in mind? And of course, you know. Z Bronzong, though, very, very nice tech in VGC. Wolfie being a VGC player, I trust that he will make this work. Has actually a really nice move pool offensively, too, to be honest. So if he gets a Trick Room up, he can maybe run like a Steelium Z or a Ghostium Z. Well, actually, yeah, I think this thing gets Shadow Claw. I know it gets at least Psychic and Rock and all that. Bronzong actually, though, has a very decent move pool in terms of its physically offensive move pool. And even specially, it's not bad. It has, like, Grass Knot, Flash Cannon, Extra Sensory. So, yeah, that's coverage right there. And, yeah, it does get Shadow Ball as well. So, it has a lot of diversity in what it can hit, even if it doesn't necessarily have the most choices in its move pool. Between its physical and special, which has both fairly decent offensive stats, and it definitely has a lot of Z options for its tier.
Definitely looking forward to seeing Bronzong do some work, seeing what kind of Z moves he's going to bring. Wolfie bringing that VGC mindset, definitely interesting for the GBA. So hopefully we'll be able to see Wolfie pull out some really nice tricks. That's what I'm looking forward to.
So yeah, I believe though that is it for this week in transactions. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below. Next week is going to be the last week, I repeat, the last week of transactions.
Calling all coaches, get your transactions in now.
Otherwise, you're screwed. So get your transactions in, get it done, get the next vid up, because you guys, of course, need to comment down below what transactions you want your coaches to see and make and all that fun jazz. And if they don't make them, you can yell at your coaches in the comments below next week. Or this week, whatever suits you, depending on if your schedule calls for this week or next week. Just make sure to yell at them if they don't make your trades, because, you know, everyone wants Envy to still get Pikachu. We also want to drop Hoopa-U for it. Hashtag get Envy to pick up Pikachu. But yeah.
Hashtag pick Pikachu, drop Hoopa-U.
Yeah, so that is it though for this week. It has been your boy Aaron.
I have been Spastic One.
And we will see you guys
next week.
Peace.